Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at a rank 1 in the world team here from Beelzeboy. So definitely check them out as well. Going to be linked in the description or their Twitter there. But we're going to have a team here with the Whiscash in the lead. We're going to have the Sazop of the Skeledirge. And we're going to have in the back the Cresselia. Like most of the time at least you want to go into your Skeledirge. There might be some matchups here you don't want to do it. Basically what is also happening for most of the parts, for example, if you have like a grass type Pokemon in the lead, you don't really want to go straight in your hardest answer for this one. One issue for this team, which I definitely have to say, is that Trevenant is going to be a little bit tricky to deal with, and I feel like that Trevenant kinda got a little bit more common. Same goes for Sableye as well. Sableye is a little bit more common. Also Pokemon that kinda maybe want to take a look at eventually as well, because like those Pokemon got more common because everybody expects to encounter something like Annihilape, and Annihilape is definitely something that does struggle against Sableye as well as the Trevenant of course as well. But yeah, here we're going to see the opponent having the Lantern. We can align our Pokemon perfectly here with the Cresselia. I can go for our Grass Knot. This Grass Knot is going to do a ton of damage, and we can align later on our Skeledirge against whatever they have in the back. I don't think we know it at this point of time, but I can let this move go through, even if it's a Thunderbolt, which it might be because I went for the Surf before. This is still not going to get the knockout. While we can get the knockout with our move, we can swap on immediately into the Skeledirge, and we have a great matchup against the Medicham, so the opponent decides to forfeit. Next opponent coming through, we're going to have a Deoxys in the lead. You kind of want to stay in here for a little bit, especially as most Deoxys go for like one Psycho Boost and then dip. And this is the cool thing as well about the Whiscash in the lead. You're going to be able to just stay in for a little bit and then usually go for the debuffing move. Here, I decided to not go for it because I have my Grass Knot, which is double super effective against their Whiscash. Of course, they're gonna get the attack drop immediately, which is a little bit annoying because with the attack drop, the Grass Knot might not be enough to knock them out here, even though it's double super effective. The attack drop really hurts there, and if they get another one, it definitely doesn't get the knockout. And of course we are not gonna get the next one, which is really good for us because now we can still just go ahead and go for a Grass Knot. This is going to connect. It still doesn't get the knockout though, and so they're gonna go for the CMP type, and we're going to let this move go through because I feel like it's not worth giving up the shield here. But I can now go for a Mud Bomb. Still have the energy on my Whiscash, but the opponent was able to realign, which might be a little bit of a trickier one for later on. They're gonna have the Deoxys still, and they're going to have also the Lantern in the back. And so this game is not over yet. Like there's still definitely a chance for me winning this game, and we're gonna see it here as well because you're gonna be able to hit the Shadow Wall against the opponent's Lantern. If you get some energy, maybe even on the Whiscash, we still have a decent chance here. But I can even reach the Disarming Voice or not, so we're gonna be forced to go for the Mud Bomb. This is a CMP type, so it's going to be kinda nice for me. But the opponent is still going to be forced to go for the Psycho Boost in order to do damage because both Rock Slide as well as Thunderbolt is going to be resisted. I go for the Scald. If I get the debuff, that's going to be so great for us. We're gonna not get the debuff, so maybe for the next one we will be able to do that. I can still let this first move go through. It's going to be the Thunderbolt, which is amazing for us as well. But the second one definitely gonna get the debuff here, right? This would help us out so much. Of course we don't, and yeah, like this is the thing as well. This team also really depends on luck. Like if you get the debuff is really important on the Whiscash. We still were able to win here, but this was way closer than I wanted, and we can move on to the next opponent. As said before, this team is really struggling against the Trevenant. You could argue of going for something different than Cresselia in the back to just beat Trevenant with it. You could go for, I don't know, like maybe something like the Skarmory or something like this, which would definitely work out for that. But otherwise, it's going to be a little bit tricky. Here we're actually able to get out the opponent's Charger Bug, and look at this matchup, which was actually really funny. We're gonna get the Exeter onto our Cresselia, which is kind of nice. We can still go for the Moonblast, and 2 Moonblasts apparently going to get the knockout. And yes, they were running Moonblast. I know that Future Sight is currently the more common move, but they were running Moonblast, and so I was running Moonblast. And it's actually a really decent move here as well because we were able to get the knockout against the opponent's Charger Bug. And with this, we're going to see as well the opponent swapping into the Trevenant, and I can now go into my Skeledirge, and now it's going to be Whiscash against Whiscash. But yeah, it's going to be not the greatest matchup ever. It's going to be a very tough one to still come back from this, but we still gonna try our best. Of course, we're gonna get the attack drop of Scald immediately against us. Do we get the attack drop? We actually do, which is kind of important because otherwise they would have been able to two-shot me immediately. But it's still not going to be over. Scald coming through, not really ideal. I can go for my next Scald as well, which is going to hopefully get the debuff onto the opponent as well here, and it does not. And we will see that we're gonna go down. My only play here is to hope that I can farm them down with my Skeledirge, but it's going to be a tough one. Let's see what we can do here. Actually, there's a different play that I can go for. I can go for the full farm down, and with this I will have 2 disarming voices later on because they have now 5 fast moves in, and as the opponent just went for a mud shot, I know already this is going to be game over. I can just go for 2 back to back. I actually could have went for the Shadow Ball here as well, but this is going to be enough to knock them out, and we came actually back from this pretty horrific matchup. Next opponent, we will see here the Whiscash against Whiscash in the lead, and this really depends if you get the Scald debuff or not. And honestly, I don't know, for me, Scald really kinda made Great League a little bit worse. Like, it is just literally just a lottery that you're playing right now. Here we don't get the debuff. Let's see if the opponent gets the debuff. They do not either, so we are not gonna get any debuffs on our side. We definitely are way below odds, by the way, with our Whiscash so far. I think we got like 2 out of like 6 or something. And now it's like 2 out of 7 or something. But at least you're gonna get the opponent fairly low. They're gonna go for their own Scald. They don't get the debuff either, which is kinda interesting. But I can still go for a Scald. Hopefully I get the debuff now. It's like the 3rd Scald in this game. I definitely have to get the debuff now, right? Like, honestly, what is going on? Like, this is the thing as well. Which, I mean, yeah, oh yeah, you always complain about like not getting the debuffs. But the matchups literally change completely if you get the debuff or not. For example, here, I would have been easily able to survive 2 decks if I got the debuff from the Scald, and this would have helped me out so much more in the matchup, because then I would have been able to just go for another charge move, don't really care too much what the opponent is doing here, and I would have still even been able to survive another aerial ace here, but yeah, this is just going to be what is happening here. And so, yeah, while I complain about the debuffs, of course, if I don't get one in like 3 Scalds in a row, it is just really impactful on the gameplay itself, which is something that I don't really like about the current meta, because I feel like at least I'm usually not on the lucky side for this kind of debuffs. But yeah, for example, here this matchup would have been also a little bit different. I would have still had a shield most likely, and still would have had a way better scenario in general for us. I tried to swap out so the opponent would go for a crunch here first, and I tried to go for a Shadow Ball, which I should have tried to do as well. I doubt that the Shadow Ball would have done enough damage from this range. It needed to do like 65% debuffed or like resisted basically here, so it's not going to do enough damage anyway, but like again, it's kind of unfortunate there. Let's move on to the next opponent. We're going to get the Azumarill, and this is also a little bit of a trickier matchup. I usually would go for the Scald in the beginning because 50% chance to get the debuff. Do we get it? This time around we actually do get it, and this is going to make the matchup a little bit easier because it will allow you to survive 2 players for sure. But I'm not too sure if there's maybe like a breakpoint or something for Azumarill against Whiscash, which you can go for, because right now, at least, this matchup is still going to be very tricky for the Whiscash, no matter what you're really doing here. Here I can still survive another move, which is kind of nice with the player off coming through, but again, like, it's not going to be as ideal for us, because we are not going to be able to 2-shot them with the Mud Bomb from this range. Azumarill is just a little bit too bulky. I'm still going to try to go for another Scald and try to go for another debuff here onto the opponent, which does not work out at all, and so the opponent can get the knockout here. I can at least still go into my Skeledirge. Skeledirge is going to have a great time here because, as we saw already, they went for player off twice. They will went for Hydro Pump at least once, I would imagine. So here I was kind of sure that the opponent would definitely go ahead and yeah, basically only have the player off plus Ice Beam, which I was right about. And so here we're gonna see the disarming voice coming through from the opponent's Skeledirge, and we're in a great spot here actually because I can just go ahead and go for the Shadow Ball spam. Because the opponent baited me before, I'm kind of forced to go for my disarming voice as well. Otherwise, there's no way of me winning this game or like this matchup in general. So yeah, I have to use another shield here. The opponent is gonna go for their own disarming voice, but I can now just go for the Shadow Ball. You saw me waiting out like 2 turns to see if they're gonna go for their fast move, and so the opponent goes down and they have a Superior in their back, but we are Superior here, so we can swap out and catch the aerial ace onto our Cresselia, which is amazing. So now the opponent basically has no shot anymore, as we are going to be able to win CMP tie. I still have the Moonblast here, and also still can just go afterwards to our grass, and I think they're already in range for this, yeah, for sure. So Cresselia should hopefully win us this game, but I'm actually not too sure, because the Superior actually does some decent damage here, as we're gonna see as well. They're gonna go for another charge move here, most likely the Frenzy Plant coming through. Gonna get the knockout, but I still have my disarming voice, and with this is going to be easily enough to knock out the opponent, and we can move on to the next one. Next opponent coming through, we're going to have the Victory Bell in the lead. Horrific lead for us, and I was fearing that they're most likely going to have something very, very, yeah, dirty here, something very fast move heavy. And it's going to be, of course, the Bastion, and it's very likely it's going to be something like a Wigglytuff in the back. And here you saw as well, I went into the Cresselia instead of my Skeledirge because they had the lead of Victreebel. And Cresselia does not have a great matchup against Victreebel actually in the 2-shield scenario, but still would be able to get maybe some shields, and then we can still align our Skeledirge later on. I really have to hope that there is going to be a Wigglytuff in the back with this lineup, or something like a Medicham would still be fine, which also would make sense, or Deoxys would also be fine, because then we still have the core breaker of the Skeledirge on our team. But let's see here, we can still go for a Grass Knot. This Grass Knot is going to get them low here, as they're going to get to another one. And so they're going to be definitely in fast move down range for my Whiscash, and they can only get to one charge move. If they're swapped, they're going to be locked into the Victreebel against our Skeledirge. And so we're going to be in an okay spot here. I can get at least 2 fast moves in, which actually might be important. We will find out shortly, because they're actually running the Wigglytuff in the back. My fast move timing was not ideal. Like, I'm a little bit silly about this one because the opponent stopped out a little bit later than me as well, so I wasn't really sure which kind of turn we were on. But it's still going to be okay. They're actually going to do way more damage than I thought they would, because as we're going to see as well, the opponent's health is basically the same as my health, and my move is neutral. Theirs are resisted, which is kind of mad, but I can still go for another Disarming Voice now. Of course, we debuffed to this, not going to get the knockout, but we should be able to farm them down afterwards, which is going to be great. But also, our health is really, really low, so the Victreebel actually going to be able to farm us all the way down, but not before we can go for another Disarming Voice here. And this will allow us to go for a Mud Bomb, and this is gonna get the knockout. So actually, Whiscash going to be able to knock out a Victreebel. You don't see this every day, but let's move on to the next opponent. Dragonair in the lead is a little bit of a trickier one as well, and I think I really misplayed this one, but it's here to kind of showcase also on how to not play it. But you can stay in, you can win the 0-shield scenario here, definitely. Like, you're going to be able to survive another move. I should most likely swap at this point into my Cresselia already. I should have not stayed in here, but I decided to stay in, which was a little bit of a silly mistake, because now they can go for the knockout. And so my Whiscash is gone now, and maybe I would need it in the back. I'm not too sure about it. I cannot really remember the game. I just remember that this opponent's Shadow Dragonair really, really hurt me here, because it just gets to the moves so fast. So what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to go for the full farm. Now we have some lag there as well, which was scary a little bit, but now I have 100 energy, and yes, of course, they're going to have the Skarmory in the back and the Whiscash in the back as well. I don't think there was something that I could have done to win this game. Like, honestly, I think that was just impossible to win. Yeah, like, I don't think there was really anything that I can do here, because if you didn't know, the matchup here for Whiscash against the Skeledirge is really, really bad, especially if they get the debuff on the attack here, which they did, because now Shadow Ball is not gonna get the knockout. I think otherwise Shadow Ball might be actually getting the knockout, but it doesn't really matter because they generate energy way faster than I thought anyway. And so this is going to be a good game, and we can move on to the next opponent. Talonflame in the lead. Great lead for us. So we want to stay in here, we want to go for the Scald, and weirdly enough, the opponent decides to stay in as well, so I can go for the Scald, and you know already, if we go for the Scald, we're of course gonna get like all the debuffs here, right? Nope, of course not, and this kind of forces me to use another shield here as well, because otherwise they might do a little bit too much damage, especially with the fly. As I swap out onto the Deoxys, I can swap out into my Skeledirge, and I was able to load up one Scald already, so whenever I want to swap in back into my Whiscash, I still have the Scald for later on. So we're gonna be able to go for a Shadow Ball against the opponent here. The opponent has still some energy on the Talonflame, which can be a little bit tricky, but we can get rid of the Deoxys as they're gonna go for a charge move here. If there's going to be the Flame Charge, we can still survive. It's going to be the Fly, of course, and so we are not going to be able to do that. But what we can go for the Scald here, and the Scald is going to be able to get the shield, and we actually get a debuff, which literally doesn't matter because the opponent is gonna go down before they can go for a charge move, as this next Scald is gonna pick up the KO, and they're going to have the Medicham in the back, and at this point, you know already, this game is over. I'm just gonna go for the Scald just to make it a little bit more clear. Maybe get the debuff here, which literally doesn't matter again, because Cresselia just wins this matchup no matter what the opponent tries to do here. Final opponent for today, great lead for us, but they're gonna swap out into the Sableye. And as said before, Sableye can be a little bit tricky for us, so we have to stay in here, but we still have, in theory at least, the Cresselia later on for the matchup against the Carbink. So I go for the Mud Bomb here, and I was thinking, do I go for a shield as well against the opponent? and I decided against it. And I regretted it immediately because they actually can go for the return, and we're gonna see him P-tie here. What I was hoping now is that the opponent is letting this move go through, because otherwise I would have to go into my Skeledirge, which would be really awkward for us, and I really need to realign. And luckily they decided to let this move go through, but what is going to be even worse is the Trevenant in the back, and this is going to be basically impossible to win, right? Let's talk about this. We're going to still have a chance here, actually, because we're going to have still the Cresselia alive, and Cresselia is going to be able to go up against the Carving now as the opponent decided to swap out, thinking like, yeah, Carving against the Skeledirge, great matchup there, but this actually gave us some shot. I think the opponent would have been able to just go for a Shadow Ball no matter what against my Skeledirge later on as well, and like would have just knocked me out immediately. But of course I did know that I have a Cresselia in the back, and so I will be able to go for another Grass Knot. This is going to get them low, and I can go even for another one, which is going to be amazing. But this game is not over yet. They're going to let this move go through, and they can still swap out with 1 HP left. I'm forced to go for the charge move, but this charge move is really important because I need to get rid of the final shield. Why do I need to get rid of the final shield? Because I just get them into range where I can Psycho cut them down, and I already have some energy prior from my Cresselia, and so we're perfectly, with like a few HP left, get to the Grass Knot, win this game. And that's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.